Hi, welcome back to our channel. And if you're new here, welcome to our channel. I appreciate the time you're taking to watch this video. And on the As Told by Canadian Immigrations channel, we talk all about immigration. So all about immigration processes, all about our experience as immigrants here in Canada, and all about what it's like to live in Canada. From the cost of living to the student visa application and everything in between. So stay tuned, remember to subscribe, I hope you'll stick around. And right now we're gonna get into calculating your CRS score for the Express Entry and Express Entry profile. Now, when I came to Canada, Express Entry did not exist, but it existed the following year. Praise God. Because I was very much on edge with regards to how am I going to stay here? How do I get to stay here? What do I do? So the Express Entry program, as many of you might know, is a point-based system that allows people to apply for permanent residency to Canada based on their age, based on their different qualifications, based on their level of education, based on different things. Now, calculating your CRS score is a very good place to start to determine how can you come to Canada, right? Because I feel like that is the most popular way for people to come to Canada. And through the Express Entry program, you're just the Express Entry program, not specific to provincial nominee or anything, but through Express Entry, you can go to any province in Canada. That is how I did my permanent residency application. It was through Express Entry. So I calculated my points, entered the pool, and I got an invitation to apply for permanent residency. How many points did I have? I had 499 points when I entered the pool. And I entered it, and that month they threw out the number of 450 points, and I got invited to apply for permanent residency because my score was higher than the score that they called. Now, before I get into the actual calculation, there is something very significant that is different from when I applied and how it is now. And they changed this, I believe, in 2017. So let us say that, using my example, I had 499 points, right? And I applied to enter into the pool, and the number that they drew, it's literally like a lottery to some extent. It's like shake the bag, shake the bag, shake the bag. 450, calling all candidates 450 and more. And because I chose 450, I automatically got invited to apply. Now, they were finding it, they being CIC, Citizenship and Immigration Canada, and IRCC, they're finding it a little bit challenging to within that group of people, take the top of the top and not take everybody, even if they are more than 450 points, if that makes sense. So they changed it in 2017, right? So say for instance, they call 450, right? And you have 450 points, or you have 451 points. What IRCC does is they select a cutoff number for the total amount of people that they will apply. So let us say they take 1,400 people. So from this call, from this draw, we are taking only 1,400 people. If there are more than 1,400 people in that range of scores, so that is from 450 and up, the cutoff point will be at the 1,400th person, ranking in order of score. Is that confusing? And so it doesn't mean that just because you have more points than what is called, you're going to get invited to apply. And the reason I tell you this is because I want you to plan appropriately. I don't want you to think that, oh, I have 450 points, I'm definitely going to get called the next time they call 450, because that's not necessarily the case, right? So I want you to plan accordingly and make sure you have a backup plan. Not to be negative, but just to be proactive, right? My plan A was labor market impact assessment. Plan B was express entry, and plan C was provincial nominee program. And then once the express entry thing rolled out, that was my plan A, and plan B was LMIA, and plan C was PNP, right? So I had a backup plan, and then if that backup plan never worked, I had a backup for the backup. Okay, so that is why I wanted to be very specific. Keep that in mind. All right, so now we're going to get into calculating your CRS score. CRS stands for Comprehensive Ranking System, and that is the point-based ranking system that they have chosen to enable people to come to Canada and be permanent residents. So let us get into that, okay? See you on the inside.
All right, so here we are, just in our browser, and we're going to type in CRS calculator tool. And it is usually the first one that comes up, and how you know which one it is when it's from the cic.gc.ca source. Okay, so I'm just using Google Chrome, and it's the Google search engine, and here it is talking about the comprehensive ranking system tool that skilled immigrants can use for the express entry. So use this tool if you have not filled out an express entry profile and you would like to see what your score might be, and you were invited and you want to see if a change in your profile may affect your score. Okay, so that's important, because if you're already invited to apply and something changed, will you drop score or will you increase score? And if your score is lower than the band that they call, then you have an issue here if you've already received an invitation to apply, right? So make sure that when you fill out your profile, you are very truthful with your information. But this is from the perspective of somebody who has not filled out their express entry profile. Okay, so what is your marital status, right? So let us say that you are single, right? So this is just an example. So do whatever you need to do or whatever is specific to your case. How old are you? Okay, so let us say you are in your 20s, you're about 27, okay? What is your highest level of education, or what is your level of education? So enter the highest level of education which you have, okay? So I'm going to do it from the perspective of somebody who has a bachelor's degree. So let's say you have a bachelor's degree, you went to school, you did all that wonderful stuff. That's where you are. Have you earned a Canadian degree, diploma, or certificate? I am going to say no, because this is from the perspective of somebody who has not entered or filled out the express entry profile and they're not in the country. Now, if you've earned a Canadian degree, you definitely have more points, okay? So right now I'm just going to say no, just to help somebody who is not in Canada know where they stand, okay? So your official languages. So Canadian official languages are English and French. Are your test results less than 2 years old? So because you have to do an English test in order to qualify or in order to be invited to apply for permanent residency through express entry, we're going to say yes, right? Because this is a hypothetical situation. But you must do an English test in order to do this anyway. So let us pretend you did the English test and you're going to say yes. Now, which English test did you do? We're going to say you did IELTS, which is the most popular one that is outside of Canada, to my knowledge. You have different kind of ones that are available in different parts of the country or different parts of the world. We're going to say IELTS for now, because that is the most popular one that I know of. Okay, so let us say you did the English test, and hypothetically speaking, let us say you got the highest score, right? The highest score is 9, and I think a range of 7.5 and 9 is pretty high, or a pretty wide range. Let us say you got between 8.5 and 9, let us say, and so this is like just a perfect scenario, right, where you got highest scores. I think when I did my test, for speaking I got 9, for listening I got 9, for reading I believe I got 7.5, and for writing I got 8. Okay, so I would have gotten this, and this would have probably been this band of scores. So let us say I did that, right? Give you my scores, okay? Do you do any other language test results? Usually no, we're not trying to prove twice that we can speak English, because we are from an English speaking country. Just saying. Work experience in the last 10 years. How many years of skilled work experience in Canada do you have? So we're going to say, hypothetically speaking, that you have none, right? And I will do a second one to do a scenario from somebody who is in Canada, because I spoke to some Brazilians today. they've been in Canada, they're going to be in Canada for almost a year, and it's probably very likely that they have enough points. So, in the last 10 years, how many total years of foreign work experience do you have? Foreign equal your home country, foreign to Canada. So let's just say you were working in your home country for 2 years. If you're 27, let's say you were working there for like 2 years, unless you're like a nerd and you've just been going to school your whole life. Just kidding, you're not a nerd, you're a nerd. Sorry. Do you have a certificate of qualification from a Canadian territory or province or federal body? We're going to say, hypothetically speaking, no. We're not in Canada, so we have nothing from Canada. Okay. Additional points. Do you have a valid job offer supported by Lmia? We're going to say no. And if this is a question that you're asking yourself, do I have this? Is this something that I have? If you don't know that you have it, you don't have it. Because if you did have it, you would know that you had it. Same with this. Do you have a nomination certificate from a province or territory? If you know that if you have it, you will know. If you are unsure, you don't have it. So we're just going to say no. Okay. Do you, your spouse or common law partner, have at least one brother or sister? You're not asking you for every relative, right? You just say brother or sister living in Canada who is a citizen or a permanent resident, right? Let us say no. I don't have a brother or sister living in Canada. I do have an aunt, and I feel like when I was doing it, it was less specific. It was more like a relative, not necessarily brother or sister. So I'm just going to say no, and then I'm going to calculate my score. So based on my results, for my age, I got the highest amount of score, right? And you know, you can always go through first for the person who asked, is 41 too old? Okay, so let us say CRS Criteria something. What I want is like the breakdown of here we go, CRS criteria. Perfect. See down here, you know, at 41, you definitely have less points than somebody who is between 20 and 29, right? So it's just something to be mindful of. If you're 41 or 38, you know, as a 38-year-old, you definitely have more points. And I'd say if you're 38, you have way more points than you would have if you're 41. Try to see if you can enter the express entry pool now. Why bother go to school? And not telling you why bother go to school. It's probably a good thing to go to school, but come to school as a permanent resident versus as an international student, right? So age, okay? So level of education, because you have a bachelor's degree, you got 120 points. You know, you didn't study in Canada, so your official language, because I put like the highest score, not even the highest score actually, I think I put 1 down, so you could get more than this. And you don't have any spouse because you're single, and skill transferability. Now, if you want to increase your score and you didn't get the maximum amount of points in your English test is so much more important than just the English test. Okay, so here is the English test score, 133. But here down here, you said, based on your education, what is the amount of points that you will get coupled with your education and your English tests. Get the maximum amount of points for your English test. Don't take the test for granted because you speak English. Go and study for the test and try to get the maximum amount of points. Here it is again. Your English test score plus your foreign work experience gives you 25 points. Okay, and so based on that, you have 50 points. And then there's some other random little points here that you can get. You have 0, and your grand total is 413 points. Okay, so we're gonna keep that number in our head right now and do another scenario. We're gonna do a married person who's living in Canada right now. Okay, so is your spouse or common law partner a citizen? We're gonna say no. Will your spouse or common law partner come to Canada with you? We're gonna say yes. How old are you? What is your level of education? Have you earned a Canadian degree? So this is you yourself. We're gonna say no. Right? Official language. Say yes. Okay. IELTS, maximum points. Guys, study for the test. Don't take it for granted because you speak English. I cannot stress that anymore. You're more against the clock than you are about trying to speak or write English. Do you have other language results? No. Work experience. In the last 10 years, how many years of skilled work experience do you have in Canada? So no, I'm going to say that maybe the husband has been working for 1 year in Canada. So that's great. How many total number of foreign work experience? So let's say you were in your home country, you worked for 3 years. And that's more points right there just because you worked in Canada. Do you have a certificate of qualification? We're going to say no. And LMIA, we're going to say no. PNP, we're going to say no. And we don't have a brother or a sister or anybody. So now, what is the highest level of education your spouse or common law partner has? So we're going to say that they have 2 or more certificates. And this is from the perspective of somebody who has gone to school in their country. They're able to come to Canada both together, and one go to school and one work. So let us say that now, from the perspective of the spouse, the husband is working for 1 year, and now the spouse has 2 or more certificates because he went to school in a country and he come here and he go to school again. In the last 10 years, how many years of skill experience in Canada? We're going to say you haven't had any, right? Because you're going to school in Canada, right? Did your spouse or common law partner take the English test? We're going to say yes. We're going to say, but both of you are super smart. Just kidding. It has nothing to do with being smart. Calculate your score and let's see where you stand. So you have 477 points, right? So that was calculating it using different scenario based on different people's conditions. So you have a single person, you have a married person, you have people who are not in Canada and people who are in Canada. Obviously, you're in Canada, being in Canada and working in Canada gives you more points because you've already been in the Canadian labor force, okay? But it doesn't mean that you can't qualify if you're not in Canada, right? So this is a good place to start to determine, okay, what are your points? So now that you know what your points are, what we're going to do is to type in rounds of invitations express entry, right? So the first one that usually comes up, express entry rounds of invitations Canada. Boom. Okay, so this is where now you take your score and you compare it against what CIC is calling or what CIC is asking of people. So right now, the lowest ranking score is 477, and this was done on May the 29th. So this was done last week sometime, right? So this person who is at 477 points would have probably gotten called if they were in the pool because their points are 470. But remember, the IRCC establishes that 3,400 candidates will be issued an invitation to apply. That's what ITA stands for, invitation to apply, in a draw. The minimum CRS score required is 407. The following may apply. So at 3,400, the timestamp is who submitted, right? So who submitted first, who submitted second, who submitted third. And then this person, the same day, but only a couple minutes later, right? And they are the 3,401th person. And they do have the score of 407, but they were still in the pool and they were not issued an invitation to apply. So now this is just the latest one. Now you can go and see previous rounds of invitations and you can see that on May 15 the points were 332, but this was specific to people who are in the federal skills trades, so tradespeople. So this is a very specific stream of immigrants or a job or a work that selected from, right? So you need to know if your job is a trades or if it's one of the NOC jobs where you are classified as a federal skilled worker. 450, no program specified, so anybody with the 450 and above, up to until 3,350. So you see a trend here, right? That is in the 400s, in the high 400, well, mid 400s for the most part. This is the lowest. This is pretty low. This is actually nice. This was in January. I think this was like one of the lowest scores all year. So this is something that is a good place for you to start. You know, do your points, and based on your points, does it even look promising that you may be invited? And if not, then you can explore other programs, or you can do a couple of things to increase your score, right? So remember, we said that if you don't have the maximum amount of English test score, go and redo the English test because it can give you so much more points in this area than this area. So if you're struggling to get points and you can afford to come to school in Canada, come here, work for a year and you'll get more points, or seek out other programs, seek out other immigration programs. Seek out the provincial nominee program, seek out the labor market impact assessment, seek out the Atlantic immigration pilot program, and other pilot programs. So always keep in the know. Subscribe to CIC newsletter, subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you will always get the latest and the greatest with regards to what's going on in the immigration world, and you'll always hear real life immigrant experiences about how we did it and what it was like when we were here. So I appreciate the time that you're taking to watch this video. Please click like if this video was helpful for you. Share it with somebody who you might think it will be helpful for, and I will see you in the next video.